In this week's space news, we cover the wave of landers heading towards the moon. Our second story is about StarCloud, a company building data centers in space. Third, we have an update from Gimwell Space, the Australian launch provider. And lastly, we cover Varda Space at the end of their W2 mission. Okay, let's get started. Wave of landers heading towards the moon. There's an armada of landers heading towards the moon right now. For the first time ever, humanity has 3 landers currently in space and heading towards the moon. Here is the latest from each of these lunar landers. Firefly's Blue Ghost, named Ghost Rider. Firefly recently released a video of their Blue Ghost lunar lander nicknamed Ghost Rider, captured in a low lunar orbit about 100 kilometers, that's 62 miles, above the moon's far side. This footage offers an amazing view of the lunar landscape, with the lunar lander just 4 days away from its historic touchdown. For those eager to witness the event, the live landing broadcast is linked in the video description. Blue Ghost is set to land in the Mare Crisium region on the moon's near side, with touchdown scheduled for no earlier than 2:45 Central Time, that's 8:45 UTC, on Sunday the 2nd of March. Jointly hosted by Firefly and NASA, the coverage kicks off at 1:30 AM Central Time, that's 7:30 UTC. The lunar lander will operate on the moon's surface for 1 lunar day, that's about 2 weeks. When the sun begins to set, Blue Ghost will attempt a sunset photo. The lander is not expected to survive a lunar night, so contact will be lost between 14 and 16 days after landing. Let's move on to the second lunar lander heading towards the moon. Intuitive Machines IM-2, nicknamed Athena. After a successful launch on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket earlier this week, the Nova-C lunar lander from Intuitive Machines separated from the fairing and headed towards the moon. Communications have been established and the vehicle is in excellent health. IM have confirmed the vehicle is receiving power and communications are working normally. The IM team are preparing for a number of thruster firings to refine the trajectory ahead of a planned lunar orbit insertion burn, which is planned for the 3rd of March. If all goes well, the Nova-C vehicle should land on the moon on the 6th of March. Steve Altemus, the CEO of Intuitive Machines, had this to say about the launch. Athena joining a historic wave of lunar landers on the way to the moon is an extraordinary moment. While the most vital part of the mission lies ahead, we believe this is a signal that lunar services are rapidly advancing alongside civil and commercial intent to establish a foothold on the moon to reach further into the solar system, unquote. This is the second lunar lander mission by Intuitive Machines, fully funded by NASA, which has also secured contracts for 2 additional missions, IM-3 and IM-4. They also have contracts with NASA to establish lunar data relay networks around the moon. For a deeper dive into data relay satellites and NASA's Near Space Network, be sure to check out my video. One intriguing payload is a mini Nova-C hopper. It will hop, that is, fire its thrusters to leave the surface and touch down several kilometers away. The plan is for it to hop into a nearby crater, snap some photos and video, then hop back out, relaying the data to the primary Nova-C lander. Now let's move on to our final lunar lander. iSpace's Resilience. iSpace, a Japanese space startup, launched its Resilience lunar lander on the 15th of January 2025 as part of the Hakuto R Mission 2. Unlike the faster American landers, Resilience is taking a more leisurely path to the moon, with its lunar orbit insertion burn not scheduled until May. As of the 15th of February 2025, the lander was 8,400 kilometers, that's 5,200 miles, from the moon and traveling outbound into deep space. Later, it will execute a series of orbital maneuvers to swing back towards the moon, setting the stage for its eventual lunar insertion burn. This trajectory might seem unusual, but it places the Resilience lunar lander on a low-energy transfer path, cleverly leveraging gravity assists to adjust its speed instead of relying on frequent thruster burns like the American landers do. Here are the current Mission 2 milestones, and as the graphic shows, the first 5 have already been successfully completed. We'll keep you up to date on all these lunar landers as they head towards the moon. Okay, on to our next story this week. Lumen Orbit renames to StarCloud and raises $10 million for space data centers. Lumen Orbit has rebranded as StarCloud, though its bold mission remains unchanged, deploying data centers into space. Alongside the name switch, the company has raised an additional $10 million in funding, building on the $11 million it collected in December 2024. StarCloud's vision is to launch a 40 megawatt data center into orbit on a single launch, achievable with a super heavy launch vehicle like SpaceX's Starship. The energy for these space-based data centers would be solar power. A huge number of solar panels would be needed to power the data center, but once they're installed, the power comes free from the sun. Earth-based data centers have to pay huge bills to power their data centers. In addition, no need to pay for land, acquiring building rights, complete environmental assessments, and all the other bureaucracy and paperwork needed on Earth. Best of all, no neighbours to annoy when you build your facility in space. The catch? This ambitious plan hinges on an operational super heavy lift vehicle. Without it, the numbers don't add up. We'll be keeping tabs on StarCloud and their progress. Right, onto our next story. Gilmour Space targets mid-March for Australia's first homegrown orbital rocket. Gilmour Space is planning on launching their first orbital rocket in mid-March. Well, that's the earliest it can launch. It could be a week or two after before it launches. We'll just have to wait and see. The vehicle will be the first Australian designed and built orbital rocket. After receiving approval from the Australian Civil Aviation Safety Authority late last year, it looked like the Eris-1 vehicle would launch in December 2024, or the latest January 2025. The final hurdle was finalising airspace arrangements and giving a mandatory notice period to the Australian Space Agency. This has now been done, so Gilmour Space is free to launch their vehicle from the middle of March. As the launch window nears, CEO Adam Gilmour has tempered expectations. He cautioned that delays or scrubs are par for the course in rocketry, ranging from brief holds of an hour or two to setbacks spanning days or even weeks. Weather can be a major factor, alongside technical glitches. We'll launch when we're ready, he stressed. Gilmour also noted that SpaceX needed 4 attempts to achieve success. The company will receive valuable data whether they only clear the launch pad, reach max Q, or get all the way to space. The data received will help their future launch vehicles be more resilient and reliable. He emphasised the importance of Australia having a sovereign space capability. It means more high-tech jobs, greater security, technological independence, and more economic growth. Okay, onto our final story of the week. Varda Space's second re-entry capsule lands in Australia. On the X platform, Varda Space confirmed their W2 re-entry capsule successfully separated from the satellite, re-entered the atmosphere and landed softly in Australia. We can confirm that at 6:32 AM Pacific Time, the W2 capsule landed safely at the Kuniba Test Range, operated by Southern Launch, becoming the first ever commercial spacecraft to re-enter on Australian soil. We will share more details soon, but for now, we're proud to have successfully completed our second mission. Welcome home, W2. Coming up next is our third launch, which will put W3 in orbit. We are working hard to make this so common that it's boring." Unquote. In future space news, we'll cover any information Varda Space releases about their W2 mission and their upcoming W3 mission and beyond. Want to know more about Varda Space? Check out my in-depth video about them. It should be popping up on screen now. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you'll see our upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry, with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.